Time is winding down. Time to throw a Hail Mary. Got the decoy out. Got a big mature buck coming in at 15 yards. So how I got started with Deer Society is that I had posting my own content, creating my own brand, and always had a huge passion for it. So for my full-time job, I made it into motorsports, working with big top brands in the motorsports industry, going from off-road to snowcross. But I wanted to keep it more of an area where I was working and keep whitetails and hunting a huge passion, and still grab a camera and not be upset about capturing hunts or overdoing it. So then one day I got hooked up with Deer Society, and they asked if I could team up with them and be a team member and actually help bring more content and do hunt breakdowns. And so I jumped at the opportunity, and I'm super excited to be a part of the team and bring content and work with their brands and just help bring more education and bring more people into deer hunting and help them learn how to get an opportunity to kill some big deer. So I'm born and raised in Minnesota, and had some awesome opportunities to shoot some really good deer here. But I also wanted to get out and try something new, try a different state. I had the opportunity to go down to Missouri, and I had some good friends that had some land down there, and knew some people that had some other land that would possibly come up as a lease. And so I jumped at the opportunity right away. I was like, let me see it on Onyx, let's do a walkthrough. And that same day, I drove over to the piece of property, just drove up to the top of this hill, and I said, I'm in. So when I first started walking this piece of property, this was gonna be a challenge to really get in after these deer, because this is all ag country. Out of all the surrounding properties, this was the main property that had the most food on it. There was water, and on the east side of it, there ran a creek right through, almost through the middle of it. There's not a lot of hardwood timber on it. There's a lot of small, little fingers and little ditches, and a lot of traveling corridors for this piece of property. Around the area, there was CRP. Maybe these deer were traveling or bedding in. That's how they were coming into this piece of property. But you had to be careful on where you set up and how far you would travel, because this is a lot of hilly ground. A lot of those deer could be bedded in those fingers or those cuts, and you had to be very smart about where you set up or how you skyline yourself. And if you're gonna sneak in, you better have an exit route to sneak out. The previous lease owner, he left some cameras on the piece of property. So with those cameras, I went in and I found out there was some history. There was this really good buck. He was a 9-pointer, he had some big tall brows, and by going through the cards, I found out that this deer was sticking around in January. He made it through the season, because in Missouri, they run down till, mid-January. And I was like, this date showed me that he made it through. While scouting and putting out trail cameras, we were able to find a big shed right in the middle of the property. Now, where this shed was found was next to a pond, and it was in the middle of his bedding area. I recognized the buck. This looks like one of the bucks that were on the previous trail cameras. And after going back and looking at some of these trail cameras a little closer, this is where he mainly liked to bed down. And he was traveling through there. So I kind of knew right there and then that, okay, this is kind of where this deer is living. Anyways, if he's living there at late season or during the summertime, he's not here. So if he does come back, that this might be one of his areas that he likes to stay at. So we set up 5-6 trail cameras on this 150 acres. And sure enough, I was getting a lot of good deer on this piece of property. And through all the different pictures, I wasn't getting this buck that, the shed that I found. He wasn't showing up. Through the whole summer and into, early season of September, nothing is showing up. But I knew a lot of these bucks, they were still there, and it all changed once October hit. And one evening, I had a picture pop in, and it was him. Where I first got a picture of this deer is he's coming from the west and he's coming into this big bean field. He's coming back. So I'm really excited, and it's time to make some moves on him. So with being on this property for the first time and not knowing where the deer like to bed or where they travel or how this whole property works, you know, you had to be really careful with your thermals. You know, in the morning, we all know that thermals are down low, and then as the sun rises, the thermals go up. And then as the sun goes down, they go right back down. We just really need to be careful. And, you know, with that property too, is that, you know, anywhere you walked, you could get spotted. You know, how open it was. There was a lot of farmers coming in every fall to, you know, check fences, harvest their crops. And so I had to be really careful. Like, you know, I didn't really go out on foot and start walking around. It was either on some type of equipment. You know, then they would see that, you know, okay, I got farmers coming out to check his crops or coming to do something on the property. Anywhere I went to check a camera, to put a stand up or check something, I always made sure that I was driving around. I know they were watching me the whole entire time. So going in on this deer, I knew that I was gonna have to be mobile. With that, I hooked up to this redneck on a trailer and we went in on him. Where I set this blind up first was near where we found his shed. And that was the last picture I got of him. So I knew that he was in the area, that maybe he was gonna be traveling through, he was coming out of his bedding area, and we could maybe get a crack at this deer.
I'm excited to introduce a brand new Deer Society video series called The Art of Deer Hunting. Now within this series, we have categories such as the art of calling, the art of food plots, the art of scent control. We're gonna detail and break down all things in these categories plus more, from trail cameras, stands, scrapes, all things related to successful deer hunting is what this series is all about. This series is a culmination of all the information we've received internally from some of the best deer hunters across the country and the methods they've used to successfully harvest mature whitetails year after year. This is called The Art of Deer Hunting on the Deer Society YouTube channel.
So with those first couple hunts, there was no success of really seeing where he's at. I never got any sightings of him. It was all after dark. All my pictures that I got of him was at night. But every time I got a picture of him, it was coming back to bed. He was coming back on the property. You know, the weekend hunt that I had after him, I had to head back home and do some family things. And before I left, I moved the blind in a smarter position to where I wanted to keep it close for access, sneaking in, sneaking out. So the reason why I moved that blind back to its original spot is I was thinking that, where did you originally get that first picture? You know that he's been there a few times, he likes that scrape, and he likes to come through there. So why go deeper into this, start from the original spot? So now I'm back in Minnesota and I'm constantly on the cameras. I'm watching what's happening, what's going on, where's this buck, and he's still nocturnal. And then one day he decided to daylight on a scrape that wasn't too far from where my blind was. It's 150 yards away from my redneck was. I needed to get down there and get on this deer as soon as I could. So the next morning I packed up the truck, I grabbed everything, and I headed down. Well, what's up, guys? We have finally made it here to Missouri. I had to tweak a few things coming from Minnesota to Missouri, but I was shooting a little low, so this is going to be one heck of a trip. Like I said, I am going to be sleeping out of my truck. And you look, and the old boy's got a mattress in there. So I'm going to be here. Just got here about an hour ago. I'm ready to get out and see what happens tonight. So wish me luck. So I decided to hop in the tree stand. I had the right wind, I had everything right. I see a few deer, but no spottings of him. And I snuck out, got out of there, and even that night I had no pictures of him. But I knew I didn't want to leave this property. I didn't want any traffic going in and out of there. So I stayed in my truck. I said the following morning I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna get to the redneck and I'm gonna hunt it all day long.
There you have it. See you in the morning.
So that following morning, I wake up with the worst headache I've ever had. And at that time, I look at my phone and it's him. He's coming right through the gap where we first originally got a picture of him. And that's where the redneck is. That's where I was going to first originally be. I was like, are you kidding me? He's less than 100 yards from my truck right now. So after sitting there for a few hours, I decided that this would be an awesome opportunity to get that decoy out in front of my blind. So with the setup of this decoy, I decided to have him positioned quartered away from the blind, so that if he were to come in, he was going to swing through, come from behind him, and I would have an easy chip shot. As the evening progressed, I grabbed the black rack and the extinguisher and did a lot of blind calling. Did a couple grunts, did a couple hits with the black rack, just to establish that there is some action going on up here. It was pretty quiet, but then all of it just changed. It just happened so quickly, and all of a sudden I could see that there was a big buck, and he saw the decoy and he comes straightly at me. So the deer's coming in, he's coming right to the back of the decoy, and I'm kind of looking, I'm moving a little bit, and when I moved, I bumped the camera a little bit, where I was only capturing the deer walking into frame. Oh my God, I got a video. Oh my God, he's going down the field. So as the arrow hits and connects, all I seen was deer taking off. And he runs over the top of the hill and goes out of sight. And at that point, I'm freaking out. I'm excited. I'm calling everyone. I'm saying, hey, I got an opportunity at this deer. It's one of those things when you finally connect with something that you get an opportunity at something like that. It's bittersweet. So I go back to the truck. I give him some time. I grab the lights. I grab the cameras. And I start going after him. So as I get to where the decoy was, I saw where I originally hit him. I stuck the arrow in the ground, and I knew right where he was, where the first blood was, and I started tracking. The blood started getting better and better and better, and all I remember is I kept that light down low, and I was FaceTiming my buddy, and I could see that there's a white belly in front of me. I just kind of flashed the light up, and there he was.
Got the freaking view! Oh my gosh.
Daddy got the big buck.
Look at that, just shredded the trees.
Daddy got the big buck.
Oh. Thanks, old boy. Oh. Coolest story I've ever had to deal with, anything that's ever happened. It's just an unreal experience. Oh man, I got so much. This is just unreal. Saddest part is I came down by myself. Everybody is up north, up in Minnesota. I may have went a little overboard on the times that I've wanted to get down here and hunt and trail cameras, and it all came together. You just got to put the time in and pray it every day. Pray that, your passions come to life. It pays to have good friends, good people in your life. Be excited for them just as they were for you. And show the love and passion together and share it together, and great things will happen. And I did it. I freaking did it. Here he is. I knew I was gonna kill him over a decoy. He's a big 9-pointer, huge brows, super cool. It's like his brows are just as tall as his G2s, especially on this side. I couldn't thank my wife. I couldn't thank God. I couldn't thank having great friends. I had the passion just as much as I do. I came down here as a solo mission, and I have no idea how I'm gonna make room to get him over to the taxidermist, but we're gonna make it happen. But here he is. Couldn't be more thankful and blessed, and this is probably one of my biggest deer yet. Huge 9-pointer with a kicker, and just huge brows. He's a big deer, and just really, really grateful and thankful for this opportunity, and couldn't be any happier. So some of the keys to the success of this hunt was using Onyx. I used it as a full digitally mapping system. Everything I was doing, everything I was getting intel of this deer, I was constantly on there placing pins and looking at what am I missing? What is the next step? What do I need to do to get a move on this deer? Reveal cell cameras. Now with Reveal, it makes it really easy when you're, a few states away. It was nice to be able to get those pictures and understand what is going on when. And it makes it a no-brainer to have 5 or 6 of them running. Another thing is scent control. Hunting out of a redneck, you have the ability to stay secured with your scent, but I always keep my scent controlled with the Illusion Phase system, from the laundry to showering to the field foam. It's constantly something that I'm always on top of. And finally, the big thing is using a decoy. Seeing how this deer reacted on all the reveals and seeing how his character was and how he responded to, in front of the scrapes and to other deer, that he was going to be the biggest, dominant deer in this area. And by using a decoy, I knew that it was going to get him fired up and be the only way getting him into range and being the last key to this hunt.
Thanks for watching this Deer Society Hunt Breakdown. Subscribe to the channel for more great educational content to help you become a better hunter, from podcasts to the Art of Deer Hunting series, hunt breakdowns, tips, tactics, and a whole lot more. The Deer Society is all about deer hunting education.